Now we will do some questions from exercises. First question 3.9. Determine the current in each branch of the network shown in figure. So in the figure, it's given 5 resistances connected in the shape of a Wheatstone's bridge, and it is connected externally to a cell of EMF 10 volt and a resistance 10 ohm is there. Okay, so we are asked to find the current through each branch. So first step is to mark the current in each branch. That's the first step is. So how we mark the current? So that I am explaining. Listen carefully. So we have first cell, that is 10 volts. So anyway, current starts from the cell. So from there we are marking the current I1. So I1 is the current starting from the cell. So through this 10 ohm resistor, current I1 is flowing. Now on reaching the junction, on reaching the junction A, this current I1 splits into two, I2 and I3. So current I2 passes through this 10 ohm resistor and I3 passes through this 5 ohm resistor. Okay. Now on reaching, when I2 reaches B, again there is a junction. So from I2, a portion I4 is passing through this resistance of 5 ohm through this path. A current I4 passes through this 5 ohm resistor. So rest of the current, so I2 is reaching the junction B. From that I2, I4 passes through 5 ohm. So how much will be passing through this branch? Through this branch, the current will be I2 minus I4. Hope you followed. Current through BC is I2 minus I4. Similarly, the current passing through the branch AD, it is I3. When it reaches D, actually from B to D, current I4 is coming. A to D, current I3. So current through DC will be the sum of these two currents, that is I3 plus I4. Okay, current through AD plus current through BD, that is I3 plus I4. Now I2 minus I4 and I3 plus I4 reaching the junction C, it will be again I2 plus I3, which is I1. So in the external circuit, again it is I1. So this is how we can mark the current through each branch. So actually we need to find three currents. I1, actually we need not find I1, you can find I2, I3 and I4, because I1 is equal to I2 plus I3. So three unknown currents you have. So to get that three unknown currents, you have to frame three equations from this circuit. Three equations from this circuit using Kirchhoff's voltage rule. So solving those three equations, you will get I2, I3 and I4, from which you can calculate I1. That's what the procedure is. So you can take each loop and you can write the loop equation. So first loop is ABDA. For that loop, 10I2 plus 5I4 minus 5I3 equal to 0. Simplifying that equation, we will get I3 equal to 2I2 plus I4. That is equation 1. Next loop which we are taking is BCDB. So for that equation, that loop, we have the final expression I2 equal to 2I3 plus 4I4. Then the next loop is ABCFEA. Then we will get the final expression for that loop as 3I2 plus 2I1 minus I4 equal to 2. Now the three equations we have to solve and we have to find I2, I3, I4 and I1 also. So after getting that, so the thing is this, after solving, we will get all the currents like I2 equal to and I3 equal to, all those currents we will get. So I4 is minus 2 by 17, I3 equal to, I2 equal to 4 by 17 and I1 is equal to 10 by 17. Like that we will get, and each current, that means current in each branch, we can calculate like this. So this is a lengthy process. Find time and do yourself. Okay, we do not know whether such problems will come or not. Okay, Kirchhoff's laws used to come, but not this much difficult. But it used to take time. Now coming to next question, that is question 310. In a meter bridge, that is figure 327, the balancing point is found to be at 39.5 centimeter from the end A when the resistor Y is of 12.5 ohm. Determine the resistance of X. What are the connections between the resistors in a Wheatstone or meter bridge made of thick copper strips? YR. Okay, determine the balancing point of bridge above if X and Y are interchanged. One more question is there. What happens if the galvanometer and cell are interchanged at the balance point of the bridge? Would the galvanometer show any current? So the circuit mentioned here is that text diagram 327, the usual meter bridge circuit. So here balancing point or length is found to be 39.5 centimeter from the end A when the resistor Y is of 12.5. So instead of R and S, here we have X and Y. Okay, so when Y is 12.5 ohm, we have the balancing length as 39.5 and we are asked to find the value of X. So this is the diagram of that meter bridge. So here we can use that equation, X by Y is equal to 100 minus L by L. Okay, so here L is 39.5 and Y is 12.5. So X we will get as 8.2 ohm. So that is the answer to the first question, that is X is 8.2 ohm. Now the second question is why there are thick copper strips in the Wheatstone or meter bridge. The interconnections are made of thick copper strips. It is to make sure that copper strips, they do not offer any resistance to the bridge, because in the calculation or in the balancing condition we have considered only the resistances, 4 resistances. We are not considering the resistance offered by the connection wire. So the thing is this, the copper strips should ensure minimum resistance offered to the bridge. To make sure that is to minimize that resistance, in that meter bridge we are using thick copper strips. Now third question was what happens if X and Y are interchanged. When X and Y are interchanged, surely balancing length will change. So first when X was in the left gap, we got 39.5. So if we keep Y in the left gap and X in the right gap, we'll just get the reverse. That means instead of 39.5, we'll get 100 minus 39.5, which is 60.5 as the balancing length. So the new balancing length will be 60.5 centimeter. Now the last question was this, when the galvanometer and the cell are interchanged at the balancing point of the bridge, will the galvanometer show any deflection? The galvanometer will not show any deflection because we are interchanging the cell and the galvanometer at the balancing point. So at that balancing point, since no current is flowing through the galvanometer, even if you exchange the positions of battery and galvanometer, there will not be any deflection in the galvanometer. Okay, so no current flows through the galvanometer. Now coming to question 311, a storage battery of EMF 8 volt and internal resistance 0.5 ohm is being charged by a 120 volt DC supply using a series resistor of 15.5 ohm. What is the terminal voltage of the battery during charging? What is the purpose of having a series resistor in the circuit? That is what is asked. So when we look for this question, if we try to draw a simple diagram showing the what battery and the device which is used to charge the battery and all, no, it will look like this. That is, you have a 120 volt battery. Okay, this is 120 volt. Now this 120 volt battery or charging device, it is connected to another battery whose EMF is 8 volt and its internal resistance is 0.5 ohm. So this is how, and you have a series resistor connected. So this makes the circuit. Okay, so this is 8 volt and the resistance is 0.5 ohm, and the series resistor, it is 15.5. So series resistor is 15.5 ohm. So this is how the circuit comes. What is the terminal voltage of the battery during charging? You know, for the terminal voltage of the battery during charging, we have the equation V is equal to epsilon plus IR. So to calculate this terminal voltage, you need to calculate I first. What is the current in the circuit? So how to find the current in the circuit? See, to find the current in the circuit, net EMF divided by total resistance. That's what. So what is the net EMF here? You can see that the two cells are connected in series actually, and they are opposing each other because positive of the cell is connected to positive. Okay, so they are not aiding each other, they are opposing each other. One is of 120 volt and the other is of 8 volt. So what will be the net EMF? 120 minus 8, because they are opposing, no. So 120 minus 8 becomes 112. So 112 divided by total resistance, it becomes 16 ohm. So the current in the circuit, it becomes 112 by 16. So we will get the current as 7 ampere. The current in the circuit is 7 ampere. Now you are asked to find what the terminal potential difference. The terminal potential difference, as I said, epsilon V is equal to epsilon plus IR. That epsilon is 8 plus I is 7 into internal resistance is 0.5. So 7 into 0.5, it is 3.5. So 8 plus 3.5 will give you 11.5 volt. This is how you have to do. Okay, the other steps which is mentioned here, no, if it is okay, you do like this. Otherwise, you use that equation V is equal to epsilon plus IR. That is more easy. Okay, V is equal to epsilon plus IR. So we have 11.5 volt as the answer. Okay. Now coming to next part of the question, what is the role of that series resistor? The series resistor is connected, that 15.5 ohm is connected to limit the current drawn from the cell. Okay, to limit the current in the circuit only, we have taken that series resistor. Now coming to next question, that is question 312. In a potentiometer arrangement, a cell of EMF 1.25 volt gives a balance point at 35 centimeter length of the wire. If the cell is replaced by another cell and the balance point shifts to 63 centimeter, what is the EMF of the second cell? So first condition, it is given when we use a cell of EMF 1.25 volt, we have balancing length as 35. That means epsilon 1 is proportional to L1, and if that cell is replaced by another cell, that is epsilon 2, and balancing point you got as L2. So by just dividing the two equations, you will get epsilon 1 by epsilon 2. Epsilon 1 by epsilon 2 is equal to L1 by L2. Just to substitute and obtain epsilon 2. That's all. So you'll get epsilon 2 as 2.25 volt. So it's a simple question from potentiometer. Now coming to question number 13 in exercises. The number density of free electrons in a copper conductor is 8.5 into 10 raised to 28 per meter cube. How long does an electron take to drift from one end of a wire 3 meter long to its other end? The area of cross section of the wire is 2 into 10 raised to minus 6 meter square, and it is carrying a current of 3 ampere. So here we are asked to find that time taken by the electron to reach the other end. The length of the wire is 3 meter. So what idea we need to use is the electron, it is traveling a distance which is equal to the length of the wire. That length of the wire, let it be L. And we know the resultant velocity of the electron when an electric field is applied, that's what drift velocity. Thermal velocity is getting cancelled, so only drift velocity it is having. So the time taken by the electron to reach the other end of the conductor or the wire, it is L divided by Vd, where Vd is the drift velocity. So using this equation you can find that time. Now the question is, what is this Vd? Vd is not given directly, but we know the expression for current in terms of that Vd. I is equal to NEAVD, where E is the charge of the electron and A is the area of cross section of the conductor and Vd is the drift speed. Okay, and what is N? N is free electron density. So we have what we can substitute, or we can obtain Vd from this expression for I. All other details are given, and finally substituting in that equation we will get the time to be. So Vd we are getting as 1.1 into 10 raised to minus 4 meter per second. So we get the time taken by the electron to reach the other end of the wire as 2.73 into 10 raised to 4 second, which is not a very small time duration. See, it is in hours, it is 7.57 hours. So it again shows that it is not the actual motion of the translatory motion of the electron from one end of the conductor to the other end. It is not that motion which constitute current. It is actually the local drift of the electrons which constitute current.